My wife cheated with my brother for years and tricked me into raising his daughter. I found out and planned the most brutal revenge of my life. Sup Reddit. So I thought I was the guy who finally broke my family's curse until one random Tuesday showed me my whole life had been built on someone else's secret. I, 36 male, grew up without a biological father. Dude disappeared before I could walk. Left nothing but a name on a birth certificate and a bunch of questions my mom never wanted to answer. My mom remarried when I was 6 to a guy named Arthur, a simple man who ran a mechanic shop outside Phoenix and treated me like his own from day one. Never once called me stepson. When other kids made fun of me for not having a real dad, he'd pick me up after class and tell me that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up. That man showed me what being a real father actually looks like. Not through DNA, through being there. When I was 17, I met Andrea at a neighborhood barbecue. She was bold, loud, the kind of girl who laughed like she didn't care who was watching. She had this energy about her that made you think she'd either have your back forever or completely wreck your life. We fell hard and fast. Stupid teenage love where you're convinced the universe put this person on earth just for you. I was working at the shop, saving every dollar, dreaming about joining the military. Then she told me she was pregnant. I remember exactly where I was standing. Behind the shop, taking a break, watching the sun go down. My phone buzzed. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Said she didn't know what to do. Said her parents would disown her. I did what I thought a real man does. I proposed that same week. Dropped my military dreams without a second thought. Started working double shifts, then triple shifts. We got married in my aunt's backyard 3 months later with promises I meant completely. Her family didn't approve. They wanted her to marry someone with money, with a future that didn't involve grease and brake pads. But she chose me, or so I thought. Our daughter Camilla was born in May, and everything changed. This tiny human with what I thought were my eyes. I held her in the hospital and made a silent promise that I'd give her everything I never had. A dad who was actually around. Stability. A father who would never bail. I joined the military anyway, just delayed by 2 years. Spent 3 years serving while Andrea stayed home with the baby. I missed birthdays, first words, first steps, but I told myself it was for them. Everything was for them. When I got back, I landed a job as security operations manager at an armored transport company called Fortress Logistics in Texas. Good pay, steady hours, benefits that actually meant something. I managed a team of 14, coordinated routes for armored vehicles carrying cash and precious metals, and developed protocols that reduced our incident rate by 40% in the first year. My director started calling me his right hand. And Andrea, she went to business school at night after Camilla started elementary school, got a job at a local bank as a teller, then worked her way up to assistant manager within 4 years. On paper, we were the dream. Nice house in a decent neighborhood with good schools, reliable car, family trips to Florida and Colorado during holidays. Everyone said we had it figured out. Now here's where my brother Dawson comes in. He's 3 years younger than me, and honestly, he never figured out how to stand on his own 2 feet. Every job he got, he'd lose within 6 months. Every apartment he rented, he'd get evicted from within a year. So guess who always bailed him out? Me. When he couldn't make rent, I covered it. When his car broke down, I fixed it at the shop for free. When he needed work, I created a position for him in my department. Made him my direct report and dispatch. Coordinating schedules, answering phones. Nothing fancy, but it paid decent and had benefits. I put my entire reputation on the line for him. Told the executives he was reliable. That he was family and family doesn't let you down. For 3 years, I basically kept that man employed. Covered for him when he came in late. Fixed his mistakes before anyone noticed. Defended him when other guys complained about his lazy attitude. I thought I was being a good brother. Turns out I was funding his lifestyle while he was living a completely different life behind my back. But the real blessing in my life was Camilla. That kid was my whole world, and somehow she felt the same way about me. While other dads complained about their teenagers, about the eye rolling and the attitude and the doors slamming, Camilla and I had something different. She'd text me during her lunch break at school just to say hi. She'd wait up for me when I worked late shifts, even on school nights, just so we could watch half an episode of something together. She'd rather spend Saturday nights watching old action movies with me than going to parties with her friends. Andrea would roll her eyes at how close we were. Said I was spoiling her, but I didn't care. That girl was the best thing that ever happened to me. I found out on a Tuesday. Camilla was 17 years and 10 months, 2 months from 18. I'd given her a car 2 months early for her upcoming 18th birthday. Used Honda, 4 years old, good safety ratings. I'd sold my motorcycle to help pay for it, The one thing I had left from before I became a dad. That bike meant everything to me, but Camilla needed reliable transportation more than I needed nostalgia. She'd hugged me so hard when she saw it, said I was the best dad in the world. That moment meant everything to me. Tuesday night, I was looking for a streaming app on the family iPad, the one Camilla used for homework sometimes. Andrea's Apple ID was still logged in. She'd never thought to disconnect it. A message notification popped up from Dawson. I shouldn't have looked, but something about the preview made my stomach drop. Just 3 words visible. Miss you already? I tapped it. Her messages were synced. Everything was right there. I sat in the living room for 2 hours while Andrea was at her book club, scrolling through months of conversations. Then years. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the iPad twice. Messages going back years. Not months. Years. Photos I couldn't look at for more than a second. Voice notes where they laughed about me. About how clueless I was. How easy it was to fool me. Detailed accounts of every time they'd been together. Every lie she'd told. Every joke at my expense while I was at work providing for everyone. One message stood out. Dawson. He's such a good provider. Too bad he's boring. But hey, at least he pays the bills while we have the fun. Andrea? The perfect setup. He works, I play. And he thinks Camilla is his. Best part of the whole joke. I read that message 3 times before it actually clicked. He thinks Camilla is his. My daughter. The girl I'd raised for almost 18 years. The girl I'd sold my motorcycle for. The girl who texted me every day just to say hi. Not mine? I put the iPad down, walked to the bathroom, threw up until there was nothing left. Then I sat on the cold tile floor and stared at the wall for I don't know how long. When Andrea came home from her book club, I was already in bed. Pretending to sleep, she kissed my forehead and said she loved me. I didn't move. Just lay there in the dark, replaying every message I'd read, every lie I'd believed, every moment of the last 18 years that now felt like I'd been watching someone else's life. The next morning, I pulled up old calendars. Went back to the weeks before Andrea got pregnant. We'd been fighting about my military plans. Hadn't been together for almost a month. Then suddenly she came to me crying, saying she was pregnant, and I was so happy thinking we'd reconnected. The dates in the messages told a different story. Dawson had been with her multiple times during that exact window. I got Camilla's hairbrush the next morning after she left for school. Her toothbrush as backup. Found a private lab across town that did paternity testing. Chain of custody kit. Professional. Discreet. 10 days later, I had my answer. Not mine. 99.9% certainty. The lab test was for me. Court-ordered one came later. 17 years. I'd sold my motorcycle to buy her that car. I'd missed my best friend's funeral to be at her recital. I'd built my whole life around being her father. And it was all based on a lie. But here's the thing nobody tells you about this situation. Biology doesn't change the fact that I raised her. I taught her to drive. I held her when she cried. I was her dad in every way that actually counted. The betrayal wasn't that Camilla wasn't my blood. The betrayal was that Andrea and Dawson had been using me as a joke for 17 years. While I worked myself to death providing for them, while I put my reputation on the line to keep Dawson employed, they were laughing at how dumb I was. That's what I couldn't forgive. Some guys would have confronted their wives immediately, screamed, cried, thrown things, begged for explanations. I'm not that guy. I spent the next 6 weeks preparing. This was my plan to execute, my job to handle. No one else needed to know until I was ready to pull the trigger. Every night after Andrea fell asleep, I'd go back to that iPad, screenshot everything, export message threads. I emailed copies to myself and backed everything up to a separate laptop I kept locked in my office at work. First, I gathered every piece of evidence I could find. Screenshots with timestamps, hotel confirmations from her hidden credit card, bank statements showing charges I'd never seen. I cross-referenced dates with my work calendar, matching every trip Dawson took to visit when I was on overnight security runs. I created a timeline of their affair organized by date, almost 18 years of betrayal, documented down to the day. I was careful about what I included for the public confrontation. The affair evidence was damning enough. Flirty messages, plans to meet, hotel receipts. And the worst part, messages where they mocked me, called me boring, called me clueless, laughed about how easy I was to fool. The explicit stuff? I kept that out. This wasn't about making people uncomfortable. This was about making the truth impossible to deny. I consulted with a lawyer in Houston, learned about divorce law, asset protection strategies. He filed the DNA evidence privately. That was legal ammunition for court, not entertainment. I restructured my finances quietly, moved money into accounts Andrea didn't know about, documented every asset I'd purchased with my own earnings, created a paper trail that would hold up in any court. Then I started planning Dawson's downfall. See, here's the thing about having a job, because your brother created a position for you. When your brother decides you're done, you're done. Week 1, I started documenting every mistake Dawson made, every time he showed up late, every schedule he messed up, every complaint from drivers about wrong dispatch information. I'd been covering for him for years. Now I just stopped. Week 2, first attendance warning went into his file. Week 3, I put him on a formal performance improvement plan. 3 weeks to meet minimum standards. HR signed off on it. Everything by the book. Week 4, a write-up for dispatch errors that caused a route delay. Week 5, another attendance violation. Week 6, he failed the PIP. His error rate was documented. His attendance record was exposed as the disaster it always was. I didn't lie, didn't plant evidence, didn't make anything up. I just stopped protecting him and let his own incompetence build a paper trail that HR couldn't ignore. But I wasn't going to let this happen quietly in some back office. No. Dawson was going to learn what happens when you betray the person keeping you afloat. I scheduled a department meeting. 22 employees. Main conference room. Mandatory attendance. I coordinated with HR. Told them I wanted to address team performance issues and handle a termination in front of the department as a message about accountability. They weren't thrilled, but I'd built enough credibility that they trusted my judgment. The HR rep would be present to ensure everything was documented properly. Dawson shuffled in looking confused, probably wondering why I'd called everyone together on a Thursday afternoon. I stood at the front of the room. HR rep seated by the door with a folder. Everyone went quiet. I called this meeting because we have a performance issue that needs to be addressed, I said. Some of you have been covering for mistakes that weren't yours. Some of you have been picking up slack that shouldn't have existed. That ends today. I looked directly at Dawson. His face went pale. Dawson, stand up. He didn't move. Just sat there like a deer in headlights. Stand. Up. He stood. His legs were shaking. The whole room could see it. In the last 6 weeks, you've accumulated 14 attendance violations, 23 documented dispatch errors, 4 formal complaints from drivers. You were placed on a performance improvement plan and failed to meet a single benchmark. Your work has been garbage since the day you started here. The only reason you lasted 3 years is because I covered for you. Because you're my brother. Because I thought family meant something. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. I was wrong. I nodded toward the HR rep. Your employment is terminated effective immediately. Please collect your personal belongings. Security will escort you to your vehicle. You can't do this, he whispered. Please. I need this job. I have nothing else. You should have thought about that before you decided to bite the hand that fed you. The HR rep stood and approached him with the termination paperwork. Dawson looked around the room, searching for someone to help him. Nobody moved. Nobody said a word. He started crying right there, in front of everyone. Tears streaming down his face, snot bubbling. A grown man blubbering in front of his former co-workers while signing his termination documents. Please, he kept saying, I'm begging you. I'll do better. I'll change. Just give me another chance. Sign the papers and leave the building. Security took his arm. He didn't even resist. Just let them walk him out like a child being led to the principal's office. The whole room watched in silence as he disappeared through the door. I turned back to the team. Meeting adjourned. Back to work. Nobody asked questions. Nobody challenged me. They all knew he'd been dead weight. They were probably relieved. The hardest part was acting normal at home. Coming home every night. Eating dinner with Andrea. Watching her smile at me while knowing what she'd been doing behind my back for almost 18 years. I planned the confrontation for Andrea's birthday dinner. 2 weeks after I fired Dawson. A family gathering at our house. 25 people. Both families. Dawson had been calling me nonstop since the firing. Leaving voicemails begging for another chance. Texting apologies. Showing up at the house when I wasn't home. Andrea told me he was struggling. That I should give him his job back. That he was family. I just nodded. Said I'd think about it. But first, I had to talk to Camilla. The day before the party, I picked Camilla up from school. Told her I wanted to take her for a drive, grab some food, just the two of us. She didn't think anything of it. We did this sometimes. Father-daughter time. I drove us to a diner on the edge of town. Quiet little place. The kind of place where nobody would overhear us. We ordered, sat down at a corner booth, and I looked at my daughter. The girl I'd raised for almost 18 years. The girl who was about to have her world flipped upside down. I'd rehearsed this conversation 100 times in my head. But sitting across from her, watching her eat fries, I almost couldn't do it. I kept it simple. No long speeches. No dramatic buildup. I need to tell you something, I said. And I need you to hear me out before you react. She put down her burger. Her eyes got serious. She knew something was coming. Your mom has been lying to me. For a long time. She's been with Dawson, your uncle, behind my back, for years. Camilla's face went still. Not shocked exactly. More like something she'd half suspected was finally being confirmed. There's more, I said. There's legal proof that I'm not your biological father. Dawson is. She didn't move, didn't speak, just stared at me. I leaned forward. But here's what you need to understand. You're my kid. I raised you. I'm not leaving. Nothing changes between us. You understand? Nothing. Her eyes started to water, but she didn't break down. She just nodded slowly. Say it back to me, I said. I need to hear you say it. She swallowed hard. Nothing changes between us. That's right. Nothing changes. I'm your dad. Period. Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever you see, whatever you hear, that doesn't change. Okay? Okay. Her voice was small but steady. Okay, Dad. I told her what I was planning for the party. Not everything, but enough. That I was going to expose them in front of the family. That it was going to be ugly. That she didn't have to watch if she didn't want to. She shook her head. No, I want to be there. I want to see their faces. That's my girl. I told her to sit close to me at the dinner. That if things got crazy, we'd leave together. That no matter what happened, I had her back and she had mine. We finished our food, drove home, didn't talk much, didn't need to. The night of Andrea's birthday dinner, I was calm, weirdly calm. The kind of calm that comes from knowing exactly what's about to happen and being completely ready for it. 25 people packed into our house. Family from both sides. Aunts, uncles, cousins. Andrea's co-workers from the bank. And Dawson. He'd actually shown up. 2 weeks unemployed, desperate, thinking maybe tonight he could corner me. Beg for his job back. Get me to forgive and forget like I always had before. I'd heard from my mother that he was planning to approach me at the party. To apologize. To promise he'd changed. To ask for another chance at work. Pathetic. The man had been sleeping with my wife for almost 2 decades, and he thought a few tears would make me hand him another paycheck. He sat across the room looking like a kicked dog, kept glancing at me, waiting for the right moment to make his move. Little did he know I was waiting for the same thing. Andrea was glowing, center of attention, opening gifts, laughing at compliments. She had no idea what was coming. After the cake was served and the singing was done, I stood up and tapped my glass. The room quieted down. Everyone looked at me, expecting the usual husband toast. I smiled, kept my voice warm, relaxed. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight to celebrate Andrea. Family is everything, right? That's what we always say. Family, loyalty, trust. The people in this room, we've known each other for years, decades. We've been through everything together. I paused. Let that sink in. 20 seconds of warmth, of everything seeming normal. Then I switched it up, which is why I think everyone deserves to know the truth about the woman we're celebrating tonight. Andrea's smile froze. Dawson's glass stopped halfway to his mouth. I walked over to the TV, pulled out my laptop, and plugged in the HDMI cable. Andrea thought I was setting up a birthday slideshow. In a way, I was. Let me show you what family and loyalty actually look like in this house. I opened the folder. First screenshot appeared. A text from Andrea to Dawson. Flirty, suggestive, pet names, inside jokes. The kind of messages you don't send to your brother-in-law. I let it sit for 5 seconds. Then the next one. Plans to meet. He's working late tonight. Come over. Can't wait to see you. Same hotel as last time? The room was dead silent. You could hear people breathing. I showed the hotel receipts, dates, times, credit card charges on an account I wasn't supposed to know about. 5 different hotels over 3 years, all exposed on a 65-inch screen. Someone gasped. Andrea's mother. Then I showed the messages where they mocked me. Screenshots of Dawson calling me a fool. Andrea laughing about how clueless I was. Both of them joking about the perfect setup where I worked and paid the bills while they had their fun. Message after message. Year after year. All time-stamped. All undeniable. I stopped the slideshow there. The message was clear. The evidence was right there for everyone to see. Andrea was shaking, tears streaming down her face. Then she tried something desperate. Those are fake, she said. He edited those. He's lying. I would never. Check your phone, I said calmly. Right now, in front of everyone. Open your messages with Dawson. Go ahead. I'll wait. She didn't move. Couldn't move, because she knew exactly what was on that phone. Her own mother grabbed Andrea's purse and shoved the phone at her. Unlock it! Now! Andrea's hands were shaking. She tried to refuse. Her mother grabbed her wrist. Unlock! It! Andrea unlocked it. Her mother scrolled through the messages, face going white. It's all here, she whispered. All true. That shut down any defense Andrea had left. I looked at her. Calm. Controlled. There's also legal proof of paternity fraud filed with my attorney. That's private. It'll come out in court. I let that land. Watched her face crumble as she understood what that meant. Then I dropped the hammer. I filed for divorce. You'll be served Monday. From now on, communicate only through my lawyer. The room exploded. Andrea's mother started screaming at her. My aunts were on their feet. Cousins were shouting questions. Andrea was sobbing, trying to explain, but no one was listening. Dawson was backing toward the wall, looking for an exit that wasn't there. I didn't argue, didn't debate, didn't get involved in the chaos. I just stood there, calm, while the families tore themselves apart around me. That's the thing about staying calm when everyone else is losing it. You look like the reasonable one. You look like the person in control. Camilla grabbed my hand under the table. Squeezed it once, I squeezed back. Then Dawson did something stupid. He pushed through the crowd and came at me. I saw him coming, read his body language before he even moved. The shift in weight, the clenched fists, the desperation in his eyes. Years of military discipline and security work kicked in automatically. Stay back, I said. Clear. Loud enough for witnesses. Don't do something you'll regret. He kept coming. Grabbed a wooden chair from the dining set. Heavy oak. Raised it over his head like a weapon. Put it down, I said. I'm warning you. Put it down and walk away. You destroyed my life, he screamed. You got me fired in front of everyone. You humiliated me. And now this? I heard phones come out. Good. Witnesses and video win cases. Last chance, I said. Put the chair down. Walk out that door. This doesn't have to get worse for you. He swung. I ducked under the chair, stepped inside his guard, and drove my fist into his solar plexus. All the air left his body in one gasp. Before he could recover, I grabbed his arm, twisted it behind his back, and slammed him face first onto the dining table. The chair clattered to the floor. He tried to struggle. I drove my knee into his lower back, pinned him harder. He stopped. You came at me with a weapon, I said into his ear, loud enough for the room to hear. In front of 25 witnesses. After I told you 3 times to stop, he was wheezing. Couldn't get a full breath. Couldn't get. I gave you a job when no one else would hire you. I covered for you for 3 years. I paid your rent when you couldn't. And this is how you repay me? By sleeping with my wife? By making me raise your kid while you laughed about it? He started crying. Snot and tears mixing on the tablecloth. Please, he whimpered. Please, I'm sorry. I'll do anything. I have nothing left. I have nothing. You should have thought about that before you spent 17 years making a fool out of me. I kept him pinned until I was sure the fight was out of him. Then I stepped back. Let him go. He collapsed onto the floor. Didn't try to get up. Just lay there, sobbing while everyone watched. The brother who always had the easy smile and the quick joke, reduced to a pathetic mess on the tile. He actually grabbed my leg like a child begging for candy. Please, he kept saying. Please, you're my brother. You can't do this to me. I need help. I need money. Mom can't support both of us. Please, I'll do anything. I'll leave town. I'll never talk to Andrea again. Just please give me my job back. I'm begging you. I looked down at him with nothing in my eyes. You had 18 years to think about the consequences. You chose to spend them in my bed with my wife instead. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill. A mistake is missing a deadline. What you did was a choice. Every single time. For 18 years. You chose this. He was blubbering now. Snot running down his face. Trying to form words, but they just came out as sounds. You're not my brother. You stopped being my brother the first time you touched my wife. Now get your hands off me before I call the police and show them the video of you attacking me with a chair. He let go. Curled up on the floor. A grown man crying on the tile while his entire family watched in silence. Nobody helped him up. Nobody comforted him. His own mother wouldn't even look at him. I found Camilla standing by the hallway, pale but steady. We're leaving, I said. Right now. She nodded. I put my arm around her and walked us both out the front door. Didn't look back at Andrea. Didn't look back at the mess. That night, we stayed at a hotel outside of town. Ordered room service, watched bad TV. Didn't talk about what happened, didn't need to. The next few months were controlled chaos, but I was ready for it. The divorce dragged. Motions. Temporary orders. Mediation that went nowhere because Andrea kept crying and apologizing instead of negotiating. But she settled before trial to avoid discovery. Her lawyer told her that going to court would mean every message, every hotel receipt, every bank statement would become part of the public record. She couldn't handle that. Here's where the receipts paid off. My lawyer documented every dollar she'd spent on the affair. Hotels, gifts, secret credit cards, marital waste, he called it, dissipation of assets, money that should have gone to our family, spent on her lover, my brother. The judge didn't order restitution for paternity fraud. That's not how it works in Texas. But when it came time to divide assets, those receipts mattered. She walked away with less equity, less savings, and nothing from my retirement. Because receipts don't lie. She lost the house. She lost the car. She lost the savings I'd built over 15 years. She got nothing except her clothes and the knowledge that everyone in town knew exactly what kind of person she was. Dawson tried to rebuild, applied for jobs all over the state, but word travels fast in our corner of armored transport and security ops in the region. Enough people knew what he'd done. Reference checks came back to shared managers and vendors. Ex-coworkers talked. HR flagged him as not eligible for rehire. Every application that required trust or clean references went nowhere. He showed up at my workplace once. Security wouldn't let him pass the gate. He stood there for an hour, yelling my name, demanding to talk. I watched from my office window. Didn't go down. Eventually, he left. A week later, he sent me a 10-page letter, handwritten, full of excuses and apologies and promises to make things right. I didn't read past the first paragraph, fed it through the shredder. He tried calling from different numbers. I blocked every single one. He tried showing up at places he thought I might be. I changed my routines, made myself a ghost to him. Eventually, he stopped trying. The fight went out of him completely. Within 2 months, he was living in my mother's basement. A grown man. No job. No future. Completely dependent on our elderly mother's social security. The golden child reduced to nothing. Camilla handled everything better than I expected. She was angry, confused, hurt, but she was also strong. Stronger than anyone gave her credit for. She gave a statement in the divorce proceedings. Short. Brutal. When Andrea's lawyer tried to paint Dawson as a victim, she said 3 sentences. He raised me. He sold his motorcycle for my car. Dawson just showed up to sleep with my mom. That was it. No long speech. Just facts. Dawson couldn't even look at her. Several months after everything fell apart, I reconnected with Rosa. We'd known each other in high school, almost dated before her family moved to Austin. 20 years later, a random message brought her back. She'd heard what happened. Everyone had by that point. Said she was sorry. Said she'd always remembered me as one of the good ones. We started talking. Then we couldn't stop. Rosa was everything Andrea never was. Patient. Genuine. Actually present in every conversation, never checking her phone, never looking past me. When she said something, she meant it. When she promised something, she followed through. Simple things that shouldn't have felt like a big deal. But after Andrea, they did. She worked as an occupational therapist, helping people rebuild after accidents, teaching them to walk again. Maybe that's why she got me. She knew what it looked like when someone had to start over from nothing. She didn't see me as damaged. She saw me as someone in the middle of a rebuild. The best part? Camilla loved her. They met 4 months in, talked for hours. By the end of the night, they were bonding over movies and volleyball injuries. When Rosa left, Camilla looked at me and said, "She's the real deal, Dad. Don't mess this up." A few months after the divorce was finalized, Rosa moved to our town. A couple months later, I proposed. Small ceremony. 30 people. Just people who actually cared about us. Camilla was my best man. The confrontation with Andrea happened on a Sunday afternoon, several months after the divorce. Rosa and I had just finished moving into our new house. Bigger than the old one. Better neighborhood. Pool in the backyard. The kind of place I dreamed about when I was a kid working at the shop. The kind of place I never thought I'd actually own. Camilla was home from college for the weekend, helping us unpack boxes and argue about where the couch should go. I was in the garage organizing tools when I heard a car pull into the driveway. Didn't think much of it. Could have been a delivery, a neighbor, anyone. Then I heard Andrea's voice. I walked around to the front of the house and there she was, standing in my driveway like she had any right to be there. She looked different, thinner, older, dark circles under her eyes. The confidence she used to carry herself with was gone. The woman who'd laughed about fooling me for 18 years now looked like she hadn't laughed in months. "We need to talk," she said. I crossed my arms. No, we don't. Please. Just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I drove 3 hours to get here. Should have saved the gas. You're not welcome here. Leave. She started crying. Of course she did. That had always been her go-to move. Used to work on me every time. Not anymore. I made a mistake, she said. The biggest mistake of my life. I lost everything. My job, my family, my friends. I have nothing left. I'm living in a one-bedroom apartment. I can barely make rent. Sounds like consequences, I said. You should try dealing with them quietly. I still love you. I always loved you. Dawson meant nothing. It was just, I don't know. I was stupid. I was selfish. But you were the one I wanted to grow old with. I let the silence hang there for a few seconds. Let her hope. Let her think maybe, just maybe, there was a chance. Then I said, you didn't love me. You loved what I provided. The stability, the income, the comfortable life. You loved having a backup plan while you messed around with my brother. That's not love. That's using someone. That's not true. It's exactly true. And even if I believed you, which I don't, it wouldn't matter. I'm married now, happily, to a woman who actually respects me. Right on cue, Rosa walked out the front door. She'd heard everything. Andrea's face went pale when she saw her. Then her expression shifted to something uglier. Jealousy mixed with desperation. So this is your replacement? Andrea said. You moved on pretty fast. I moved on the moment I found those messages. Everything after that was just paperwork. Rosa came to stand beside me. Didn't say anything. Didn't need to. Her being there said everything. Andrea's eyes darted between us. The reality of her situation was finally hitting her. I'd rebuilt. I'd moved on. I was happier than I'd ever been with her. And she was standing in my driveway begging like Dawson had begged on that kitchen floor. You can't do this, she said, her voice rising. You can't just throw away 18 years. We had a family. We had a life. You threw it away, I said. I just refused to pretend it wasn't trash. Then Camilla walked out of the house. Andrea's face changed when she saw her daughter. Hope, desperation, relief. Like maybe Camilla would take her side, would remember all the years of being her mother, would choose blood over the man who raised her. Camilla, Andrea said, stepping forward. Baby, I've missed you so much. You won't return my calls. You won't see me. I'm your mother. Camilla stopped on the porch. Her face was stone. You're not my mother. That's not fair. I made mistakes, but I carried you for 9 months. I gave birth to you. That has to mean something. Camilla walked down the steps until she was standing right in front of Andrea, close enough to touch. She didn't touch her. You know what I remember? Dad selling the motorcycle for my car. Dad showing up to every single recital. Dad working doubles so I could have nice things. She paused. What were you doing? Right. Sneaking around with his brother. Andrea reached for her arm. Please, I love you. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to... No. Camilla stepped back. Get off our property. Don't come back. Andrea stood there, frozen. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Her daughter was supposed to forgive her, was supposed to understand, was supposed to choose her. Camilla turned to Rosa. Rosa's more of a mom in 1 year than you were in 18. Then back to Andrea. Leave, now, or I'm calling the police. Andrea's face crumbled. Whatever fight she had left drained out of her. She turned around, got in her car, and drove away. Camilla watched until the car disappeared around the corner. Then she walked over to me. You okay? I asked. Yeah, she exhaled. Needed to say that. Rosa joined us. The three of us stood there in the driveway of our new house. Later that year, Rosa told me she was pregnant. Twins, a boy and a girl. When they were born, Camilla was the first person besides Rosa to hold them. I watched my daughter cradle her baby siblings with tears in her eyes. The same girl who'd sat next to me at that birthday dinner and chose to stand with me anyway. You did good, Dad, she said. Andrea's still out there somewhere, working retail jobs. 1-bedroom apartment across town. Dawson got warehouse work eventually. Night shifts, no benefits. Still living in my mother's basement well into his 30s. 2 people who had everything and threw it all away. Camilla's 20 now, in nursing school. She comes home every other weekend to see the twins. Calls me every night just to check in. She's the best thing I ever did. Not because of biology. Because she chose to be my daughter when the truth came out. She chose to stand by me. And I chose her right back. Camilla's 20. I'm still her dad. Andrea and Dawson get to live with what they did. Every single day. That's enough for me. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.